Welcome to Eternity Archives, a podcast by Eternity College for students, alumni, faculty, and friends. I'm Ernesto Duke, Eternity's president and the host of this podcast. At Eternity, we have students, alumni, and faculty living all around the world, living for the kingdom of Jesus. One of the most beautiful things about Eternity is how our diverse community, representing different countries, cultures, and backgrounds, comes together to study and be transformed by the scriptures. In this podcast, we hope to share the amazing story of Jesus' people in God's kingdom around the world at Eternity College. This is Eternity Archives. Hi, everybody. Thank you for listening or watching Eternity Archives. My name is Ernesto Duke, and I'm here with Eric Gettle. So, Eric, I'd love to hear a little bit about yourself. Tell us about you, your family, ministry, where you are in the world, anything like that you would like to share.
Sure. Yeah. So, my name's Eric. I started Eternity back in 2016 and had to take a short break. And I can talk a little bit more about that later. But coming here was really important to me because faith has been a part of my life's journey from a pretty young age. So, been a lifelong Christian as far as I can remember, due to my family upbringing. Right now, I live in Washington State, not Washington D.C., but Washington State. It's a whole other place. If you heard of Seattle, I'm near Seattle, kind of in between there in Portland, and so right now I live in a pretty rural area, and I love it a lot. Actually, it's nice to be spread out. I'm married, been married for almost 10 years, coming up in January. Pretty proud of that. It's a good marriage. Really, really happy with the work that we've done.
Awesome.
We got one child. He's a boy, and he's in third grade. He likes to play soccer right now. He's asking if he can go to a soccer camp coming up. And other things that keep us in the house pretty busy is we've got 3 wily dogs that just tear it up every day.
Yeah. Awesome. Cool. Well, thank you for being willing to do the show, and I'm excited to get to know you a little bit better. So I mean, if you're okay, jump into it now. 26. So you're the first person on the show so far that it hasn't been like their first or second semester. So I'd love to hear kind of about your journey at Eternity. You were never on campus, right? Is that true? Okay, so you've always been an online student, but you were around when we had a campus, and then you've kind of been around still through that. I'd love to hear what that was about, and what's kind of gone on, and how your experience at Eternity has ebbed and flowed and changed as you've been a student over the last, what is that, 8 years? Yeah, something like 8 years or so. Yeah.
Yeah, and it was a pretty big break. I started one semester back in, as I mentioned, 2016. And at that time, I was a brand new father, and also I was serving kind of a youth ministry role, with underneath the supervision of the pastor in a Presbyterian church at the time. And I hadn't had any formal training in any aspect of that. All of my experience just come from local churches and my own study. So at that time, I felt like I needed input, and that was a lot of the language that I used at the time. Is I wanted to consume, I wanted to be served, and that may or may not have been the correct attitude at the time. Regardless of where I was at that, I think even the experience that I had that one semester was extremely positive and influential on my time. But I stepped aside at that time to focus more on family. There was also a lot of church drama going on at that time within that church that I was at. And unfortunately, that church did dissolve. And so forward from there, it was a period of little bit more self-discovery, finding myself, what I wanted to do. Just got into a different workforce, different career path, really stepped away from ministry for a while. And today, and specifically last semester, that would have been fall is when I started again.
Hmm.
Um, I am still not involved in ministry per se, aside from what I'm doing in my own church. But I'm not doing the same role that I was within youth, for
Hmm.
example, of like ministering and pastoring to people. But what I am finding is that it's very easy and natural to minister to friends and family, especially to coworkers.
Hmm.
And that was the main motivation for my return back to Trinity Bible College was
Hmm.
to, um, again, have more to give to those people,
Hmm.
um, be able to work through some things that I might not be able to work through on my own, and
Yeah.
have some more mature Christians, or at least some sort of community to bounce those things off of.
Yeah.
Uh, and some of that has worked out so far. Uh, some of it not so much because again, I'm pretty new, or at least early in my journey at
Hmm.
Eternity. So right now it's a lot of prerequisite classes and things
Yeah.
that I do to take. But there's a few that I've really been enjoying and
Awesome.
getting quite a bit out of.
So,
But
no,
part of that question that
go.
I missed at all.
No, you're good. So, I don't know if you shared, I don't know if it was offline or when we were already recording, but can you share a little bit about what do you mean by ministering to your coworkers? Like, what does that look like? If you want to share a little bit about your job and how those opportunities have come up. And just so you know, by my definition, I would still say you're very involved in ministry, whether or not you're getting paid or not. That doesn't really matter. Obviously, you have a heart for people coming to know Jesus, and so, anyways, yeah. But I love to hear, yeah, what does that look like with your coworkers and in your vocation and things like that?
Yeah. So that all kicked off because in my industry, I'm in the fire service. I don't know how it looks like in the rest of the country right now, and I would assume it is different. But in Thurston County, where I work, there has been a massive focus on mental health,
Mm,
focusing on mental wellness for our responders. And the impact that I'm seeing has been extremely inspirational. And right now, I'd consider it pretty grassroots. It's only been established as a mission for us within the last 2 years.
mm,
And so I'm really excited to be a part of this. The program I'm involved in at EBC is the dual bachelor's degree
mm,
program. So as of right now, the plan is to do the dual with IWU in the psychology of human relations,
mm,
just to again be able to provide more to that world. Right now, actively, we do have a place. We have a role for anybody who wants to get involved, and it's all regarding peer support.
mm.
So just the same level, one on one, no clinician involvement unless
Right.
necessary, and it's been really amazing. I mean, it's
Mm.
been able to keep a bunch of people from off the ledge because it's all that preventative care.
Yeah.
And many people know right now, at least in the United States, we're having a bit of a mental health crisis.
Yeah.
And for us folks who are the ones who tend to help people, we tend to be the ones who don't ask for help.
Mm.
So it's extremely important that we're checking in on each other, and just all these elements that are so, to me, just so Christian and so much the mission of Jesus
Mm.
that it just goes hand in hand,
Yeah.
some of a lot of the conversations that I've been having are with fellow Christians in the fire service, but there's also almost a closeted Christianity within my culture. So
Mm. What do you mean by that?
people don't talk about their faith,
Ah,
and it's different to me because again, I came from ministry where that is what we talk about is our
right.
faith.
Yeah. Everyone's a Christian
And
and on
yeah,
staff at the church. Yeah.
right,
Yeah.
right.
Yeah.
So just a lot of different worlds coming together, and everyone's doing a good job of trying to be respectful and professional, but you can't help it. Jesus really gets into every aspect of your life. So
Right. Right.
these conversations can go pretty deep. It's just really good. Good things are
Yeah.
happening. So I want more for that.
Yeah. Yeah. That's awesome. And I I don't it's such a weird problem that you're like right in the middle of within our culture and our country about like the level of trauma that we expect first responders of all sorts to like endure on a daily basis. And then sometimes, and I think you're right, it varies county to county and state to state, but then the lack of support and then the surprise we have when people can't deal well with that trauma. And we're like, well, what the heck? Like, why we pay them so well and they have their pensions
Yeah,
and all these things. It's like, uh, yeah, that's really encouraging to hear that you're a part of that, and that, and even as a grassroots thing, I think that you're going to be able to shape the long-term culture of that thing better, being there on the ground floor. And it's really encouraging to hear how the kingdom of Jesus is able to penetrate and work through systems that may not be explicitly Christian, but God's designed his world and his people in a way that inklings of the kingdom begin to pop up. And when there's Christ followers in that place, they're able to see it and grab onto it and help it flourish and grow. So that's really cool, man.
very
Um,
well. Yes.
I would love to, and this is probably you can just tell me if this is literally the same exact question or the same answer, but we've been asking people to share something that they feel like they're uniquely passionate about. The way I'm framing this is that this would be something that you care a lot about. You feel like God has put it really strongly on your heart to pursue this thing. And it's almost like weird or confusing to you why everyone else doesn't care about it so much. But it's just this thing that whatever it is that you find yourself uniquely passionate about. I'd love to hear about that.
Yeah, and I think that just ties in very much to what I've been talking about. I am an introvert, but at the same time, I am so drawn to relationships.
Mm,
I I believe that relationships are the most important thing. When it's
mm,
people to people, and
yeah.
so that is what I'm very passionate about is those relationships. Whether it's just friendships or professional relationships in work or whatever setting you're in. Um, but it drives me insane when when it's just superficial and it
Mm,
doesn't go past a point where you don't get to communicate that you care about the person. I just
mm,
want people to know that they're loved and cared about.
yeah.
It's all within that one word relationships. It's
Yep.
very important.
Yeah. What do you think if you could, since you don't have your psychology degree yet, you just play armchair psychologist here
Yeah,
for us.
yeah,
But uh,
yeah.
what do you think it is that draws a more reserved, maybe task oriented, focused person to the fire service, and to a lot of first responder positions? But what do you think? Yeah, why? What you had mentioned that like there's a lot of closeted Christians or whatever
Sure.
at the what would draw that personality type into that vocation?
Sure.
Yeah.
Yeah. I've thought about that a lot. I think it's confusing for sure. Um, because those things almost seem opposite. But I think for Eric Gettle, for me personally, is it's all because of my story of being involved in a ministry where I was around people who also shared that passion,
Mm,
and I got to see the transformations of people's lives and be able to come out of their shells and just
mm.
heal and all these amazing things happening, regardless of whether they were type A, type B, introvert, extrovert, ENTJ, whatever letters,
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
doesn't matter. It's it's a family. We're
Mm,
just, it's super important that we can draw the best out of people and at their rate.
yeah.
So that happened to me in one way or another,
Hmm.
and also happened to people I was close to. So I think
Mm,
that is a large reason is I got to experience that and
mm.
want to continue that good work.
Gotcha. Gotcha. Cool, man. Well, we're going to transition to maybe a little bit less formal part of the conversation. So we've got some questions submitted by fellow EBC students and faculty, staff. I actually don't, these are all anonymous. Sometimes people put their names, these are anonymous. So let's go through one or two of them and just give your best response. Doesn't have to be perfect. Everybody knows that I didn't tell you what these questions are ahead of time. So it's totally fine if they're not researched or anything like that. We'll do one regular here. We'll start with more of like a reflective one. So this person is asking, how has your understanding of theology evolved over the years? Or another way to ask that, what is something that you have changed or a belief that has changed as you've studied and followed Jesus over the years?
Sure, sure. Good question. Well, as I said early on in this video, I came up as a Christian. Growing up, my parents were Christian, and it was within mostly Baptist and non-denominational churches that I got all of my earliest ideas and
Mm,
formations of faith. So that's pretty much my basis, my foundation that I had to work with growing up, and living in uh, a state that tends to be pretty contrary to what would be more Baptist ideas. That was hard to reconcile, especially in,
mm,
in my school years. So a lot of questions were asked growing up,
mm,
and things changed. Things definitely changed. I mean, I was at one point working at a Presbyterian church um, that, for a big example, ordained women, and that was a big shift in
mm.
my ideas,
From how you had grown up and like
how I had grown
yeah,
up,
yeah,
and what I had thought was right, uh, women in leadership. So there's just been so many things
yeah.
that it's hard to pick it all apart. But I think it's okay to admit that we're in process.
Mm,
Not a single one of us has it all right,
sure.
and it saddens me when we let ourselves get divided over some of these issues. Some of them do matter. Some of them are really important in what define us as Christians. But
Yeah.
I think I've done a good job at drawing together pretty much
Mm,
core ideals without having any formal theological classes training
yeah.
to get me on any one track. It's all just been personal stuff. But I mean,
Yeah.
today I'm at a Free Methodist church, is where I worship and serve. So
Mm,
just always changing, and that's
yep.
okay.
Yeah. Wonderful. Great. Let me ask one more. Next question is what aspect of Jesus's life or teachings do you find the most misunderstood or underappreciated by Christians today? Uh, Maybe we could rephrase that a little bit by American Christians in the Pacific Northwest, since you probably can't speak on behalf of all Christians everywhere, but in your circles, sure.
Hmm. What is most misunderstood? I'll pass on that one,
All right.
or at least for you, if you have any ideas.
Oh, I didn't know you were gonna throw it back. I had told you you could, and then I
Yeah,
wasn't ready
yeah.
for it. Uh, yeah, it that's a hard question because it almost sounds like accusatory, but I think something that everybody would generally accept and recognize would probably be like our individualizations of everything. How most of Paul's letters are written to groups of people, the verb tenses and the pronouns and the adjectives, they're all declined and parsed in plurals. Like it's so much stuff is meant to be done together as a church. There's that famous phrase, I have no clue who said it, but I've repeated it a million times, that it is literally impossible to one another yourself, right? So a lot of Jesus's teachings are impossible to do on your own. And so I think we live in a culture that preaches and pushes individualization, your own story, your own life, your own problems, your own deal with it on your own, thrive on your own, celebrate on your own. And maybe certain cultures within the US are willing to expand that to your nuclear family. But as far as like anything outside of that, um, it's almost unheard of in our culture. And so yeah, that would probably be it. Just like the hyper focus on individuals rather than understanding the larger family of God that we're a part of, and how most of Jesus's and the New Testament teachings assume we're in a much more communal life than most of us are taught to live by our culture. That would be my answer. Again, not
Yeah,
knowing Eric was going to make me answer it. That would be my answer. All right,
sure.
cool. All right. Well, that's pretty much it. I think we're good. Thank you guys so much for listening or watching to Eternity Archives, and thank you again, Eric, for coming on the show and giving us 20 minutes of your life.
Yeah, thanks. It was fun.